Hi guys, I'm going to talk about chapter 11 in this video. So I'm going to talk about what is the public good and common resource. Now there are four types of good in the economy. Now before we can distinguish which one's which, we're going to know two properties. One is called excludability. Let me say it one more time. Excludability. And the other one is called rivalry in consumption. So the first one, excludability is the ability to stop somebody else from using the same good. So for example, that you have a bottle of water and you're holding on to your bottle of water. That means nobody else can consume the same bottle of water. That's called excludability. And also, I mean, right now, let's say you want to go to the Houston Astros game, so baseball game, you need a ticket. So that ticket will allow you to go to the game. If you don't have a ticket, you cannot go to the game. So that's also called excludability. Driving consumption, it means that if other people using the same good, will have impact on your use as a good of the same good as well. One example you can think of would be, let's say, TV. So we have two people watching the same TV. If one person wants to change the channel, that means the other person's consumption of the same TV will be affected. So that's called rivaling consumption. Now, before we talk about the public good, common resource, private good, and club good, you need to keep in mind that many of the good we have in the economy, just because they're called public good, doesn't mean they're public good. Because for public good in economics, there's a very strict definition. Okay, so we have four good. Private good, which is both excludable and also rivaling consumption. Public good is not excludable and it's not rival in consumption. Common resource, rival in consumption, not excludable. Club goods, excludable and also, but it's not rival in consumption. So it's for public good and common resource. They share one thing in common, that they are not excludable. Now, let me give you an example of something that we call public, but it's not a public good. So a public park. Now, is a public park public good? No, let's look at these two requirements here. So it has to be non-excludable, excludable, and also it is not rival in consumption. So is public park excludable? Can we exclude somebody from going to the park? Well, not really, because everybody can go to the park, right? So park is not excludable. But does park suffer from rival in consumption? That means if one person consumes the park, would that diminish my consumption of the same park? If it's only a person or two, that wouldn't impact the consumption that much. But imagine if the park it's like a Black Friday in Best Buy. So it's full of people. Now, would that impact your consumption of the park? I mean, sure it will, right? Because it will diminish your quality of consumption. So your public park does suffer from rivaling consumption. Therefore, public park is not a public good. A public park is actually a common resource. Okay, and then what about a public library? Would a public library be a public good? Well, let's look at these two requirements. Is it excludable? And then does it suffer from rivaling consumption? So first of all, public library is not excludable. Everybody can go to the public library, but does the public library suffers from rivaling consumption? Yes, right? Imagine again, if your library is like the Best Buy on Black Friday, right? It's become very noisy, very crowded, then your quality consumption of the public library goes down. So it is rivaling consumption. So there are only very few public good. We have the true public good we have in the economy. Some examples you might see in our textbook. Radio is a public good. That means everybody can listen to the radio as long as you own a radio. And also, if one person listens to this channel, it wouldn't impact the quality of consumption of other people on the same channel. TV is also public good. Not the TV set, the TV station. So for TV stations, everybody can all watch the same TV station. So it doesn't suffer from rivaling consumption, and also doesn't suffer from excludability. Another public good that's listed in the textbook is your national defense. So national defense is also public good. Okay. All right. let me see. What else to talk about it? That's not important, guys. This chapter is very simple. Just couple definitions. Okay. Also known as a free rider. So free rider is anybody who received the benefit but doesn't pay for it. Now, many of you guys are free rider. Let me tell you why. So you probably watched Sesame Street before. You probably watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You probably watched Reading Rainbow. You probably watched Clifford, the Big Red Dog, right? And then there was another show. It was the Chinese cat. God, what's that show called? What's that cat's name? Sawa, something like that, right? So all those shows, you can find them on PBS. Now, if you never wrote a check to PBS, that means you watch the show, you benefit from the show, but you didn't pay for it. You are a free rider. Okay, so free rider again is anybody who received the benefit but doesn't pay for it. It's also known as freeloader. Okay, so the free rider problem is that for public good, because it is not excludable, everybody can all consume it. So more than often, your public good, they're underpaid or underfunded and are underprovided. Okay, because people just avoid to pay for it. Okay, let me see what else we could talk about. That's not important. Okay. About this. Okay, so one difficulty we have regarding to public good is that it's hard to analyze what's the cost and benefit. So cost is easy. We know how much it costs to provide a public good, but the problem is how much benefit does it bring to the economy? Now, let's suppose the economy is very small. So let's say the economy only has 10 people. Then we can ask each person how much they're willing to pay for the public good. So imagine, let's say we take the show Sesame Street. So we can ask each of the 10 consumers, says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Hu and Hu, how much are you willing to pay for the Sesame Street? And then we'll add it all together between all the consumers in the society. That will be our total benefit of this the show Sesame Street. But that's a very small economy. Now imagine our economy, we have 350 million people. Now, can we survey everybody, ask them about every single public good, how much they value it? That's impossible, right? So it's very hard for our government to estimate how much our total benefit is from public good. So that's why we know for sure how much cost is, but the benefit is uncertain. So that's why more than often we put the benefit lower than the cost. So that's why many of the public good, they're underfunded and also underprovided. Okay. This. All right. So common resource. Common resource is not excludable, but rather in consumption. Many of the public good, we call public good in our economy today, they're actually common resource because we cannot exclude people from consuming this good, but they do suffer from rival consumption. And because of this characteristics, common resource is very often abused. And then it's called the tragedy of the common. So let's imagine all the fish in the ocean. Now, we cannot exclude somebody from consuming the fish, but it does suffer from rival consumption. So if everybody all consume the fish, and then eventually we just run out of fish, right? So we deplete our resource. So that's called tragedy of the common. All right, let's talk about this. Not important. What else? There's one more thing I want to talk about before the end. So property right. Now, one fix for the common resource or the public good is to assign property right. Then once you assign the proper property right, then once we know who owns which good, then this legal right can be enforced, and then we can stop the tragedy of common. Okay. All right, so that's it for this chapter. Have any questions, guys? Let me know, and I will see you for chapter 12. All right, bye-bye.